Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers. That's right, PHLY. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me today is not only Philadelphia's #1 beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, but the fly by herself, Kelly Hinkle, is with us as well, representing Broad Street Hockey. How are we all doing with this playoff-bound team now?
You're going all in on this? Is that your plan?
Charlie, Thanksgiving is in 2 days. American Thanksgiving. I'm sorry to our Canadian listeners out there. American Thanksgiving is in 2 days. They're in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
77% or so of the time you make the playoffs when you're in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
What? I'm just playing the numbers here. This should be your thing.
Bill,
You're the stat nerd.
Are you playing the numbers, or are you going against your always philosophy of everything is 50-50? Either you do it or you don't.
Damn it.
That's a good point.
Got
your ass with that one.
Anyway. Fuck.
Gotcha there.
Completely thrown off. So something I noticed about how, and like, listen, I don't know how else to react to this team other than, I guess they're good, going to the playoffs, I'm all in. But just very funny, like, dichotomy, I don't know. Listening to like 32 Thoughts, the Jeff Marek show, national shows over the past couple of days, they joke a lot about the rebuild's over. And like Marek had Todd Fedoruk on the other day. And his thing was like, we're good, but we're young. It's still a rebuild. We're getting the same messaging from the coach. And then I chat with Pete Blackburn. We're trying to set up a weekly thing with the What Chaos guys. It's a really good, our national hockey show. And he's just like mentioning to me the winning streak, the Flyers mojo right now. This is like a national thing that the Flyers are so far ahead of schedule on their rebuild. And then I look locally, and like it's Mailbag Monday on Tuesday, and most of the questions are about like selling assets a couple of months from now.
Yep.
So like hyper localized, we're listening to the coach, we're listening to what the organization is telling us, and it's like, yeah, it's still a rebuild. And nationally, it's like, yo, the Flyers, how much fun. And it is cool because I've heard a lot of, well, the league's better when the Flyers are good.
Yeah,
Freeman
said
this is one of our, like, the Eagles are becoming a national team. They have recently because Jalen Hurts, all the Alabama guys, all the Georgia guys. Now the Kelsey's the biggest star in the world. But like the Cowboys are that team. Like Notre Dame, like the Lakers, the national brand teams, the Red Sox. The league's better when they're good. The Flyers actually are that team in hockey.
They're one of them. They're one of like 4 or 5.
There's not just one.
They're not the Canadians or the Leafs.
Well, but those that doesn't matter in America.
They're close to like the Rangers, I would say.
The Rangers are
sure.
definitely one of those teams, the big market teams, but it's more than market size because like Philadelphia has, like, no one says, oh, well, baseball's just better when the Phillies are good. Like, no, it's cool now because we have Bryce Harper, but like, it's just cool to have that. But just looking at it, where are we, the three of us? Is it right now, is the story that this team could go to the playoffs, or is it still step back, big picture, it's a rebuild? Like, where are you mentally?
Why can't it be both?
Why not both?
Yeah. Seriously, like, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I don't understand why so many fans have just decided that the team being good now automatically means that the rebuild is either canceled or not going to work. Like, those are the only two outcomes of the teams playing well now. And that just seems like nonsense to me, because you said yesterday exactly what I've been thinking, that if the Flyers have an excellent middle six, if this is a team of excellent middle sixers, which is what they seem to be, then you get a first line, which we theoretically have coming, and all of a sudden you've got a good hockey team. Like, I don't understand why finding out that the players that we have might be better than we thought is negative. It's very weird to me.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I think too, like, it might even be, and again, 18 games in, we'll see how this plays out over the course of a full season, but we may be underselling some of, not all of, but some of the guys to say that we just have a team of excellent middle sixers. Like, I think Travis Konechny is a first-line caliber
At this
player.
point, you have to believe,
I think he is.
which fits perfectly.
Michkov,
Gauthier, Konechny.
There we
Boom,
go.
first line solved.
I think guys like Owen Tippett and Joel Farabee could be maybe not first-liners, but top sixers. Like, they are not guys you necessarily want on your top line every night, but they are on one of your two top lines. Maybe neither of them are quite there yet, but you're watching them and you're saying they could be. Like, they could be that second tier down, along with someone like Konechny, who very clearly is, along with someone like Sanheim, who, if this is him, if this is who he is, that's who he is. If this is who he is, Travis Sanheim is probably a damn good number 2. Like, he's not your alpha Victor Hedman type. He's never going to be that. But instead of me saying, I think he's a great 3, if this is Travis Sanheim, I think he's a great 2. And then you need fewer pieces above him. You still need pieces above him. That's the thing. You still need pieces above Travis Konechny.
No one's denying
because
that.
if Travis Konechny is your best player, you're not winning a championship.
No, they need Gauthier, and we talked about, like, they badly need these dudes to hit.
But you need fewer.
Yeah.
You only maybe need 3 or 4 guys that are better than Travis Konechny rather than 7 or 8. Yeah, which is the problem. And I think this goes back to the difference between, because you mentioned about how the national shows are saying, cancel the rebuild, the Flyers are here. And
they're saying it tongue in cheek.
But are they? That's the thing.
And the way I think, like, why not both is because people think, or at least people are expressing to what I've seen, like the theme in some of our mailbag questions is you either buy or sell. And we've talked about, like, they're not going to buy probably. I mean, it's the fucking Flyers. Like, who knows? But you can just say, we're going to give these dudes a chance as is, and you don't sell necessarily. And, like, trading Marc Staal, who they've been winning without, is not selling.
Exactly.
Like, that's not throwing up the the movie poster for Slapshot, the big for sale sign. Like, that's not necessarily selling. You can just stand pat and go, we're going to see if these guys can do it. But ultimately, no, we're not giving up assets to get, another defenseman to play with Sanheim to see if we can lose in 7 instead of 4 in the first round.
And I truly do think that even if this continues, I truly do believe that buying is off the table. I do not think they are going to buy.
I mean,
I cannot imagine, unless, like, only scenario I can see that happening is, as we talked about, I think last week, about that time when the Flyers were going on their run, all the goalies got hurt, and Hextall was like, I got to get them something because they deserve it.
Well, we have to play with a goalie.
Exactly.
Like, when you're on your 7th goalie, it's like, no, I had to make a trade because, like, I don't want to play with an empty net tonight.
Yes.
We can't go e-bug for 2 weeks.
Yes. But beyond that, I do not think there's a scenario.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
That would be pretty funny. I don't think there's a scenario where they buy. I think really what this comes down to is whether you stand pat and maybe you sell a Staal or whatever because he just doesn't really fit anyway. So see if somebody else wants him and see if you can get a 5th round pick back for him versus you sell someone like Sean Walker, who is very
that's
clearly
the guy at this point.
Exactly. Like, he is very clearly a key piece of whatever this is. And if you sell him, you are saying, we don't care. We just want the assets. Maybe that's a smart move. And I do think, going back to what I was saying about the distinction between the national guys and the local people, is that, look, national people, when they say the league is better when the Flyers are relevant, they're looking at this from a general interest. It's cool when the Flyers are good. They're not looking at it from a perspective of it's better when the Flyers are great.
Yeah.
They just want the Flyers being, like, a team that
relevant
is worth
is the word.
discussing.
Yeah.
Relevant.
Yeah.
Whereas Flyers fans want this team to be great. And they are so sick of the team topping out at being good that it's not exciting to them that the team could be good. What they want is the team to be great because they're sick of the team.
We went through good with Giroux and Voracek, and it was nice to have those first round losses. We got a few extra games in, got to sit in the press box for playoff games. That's a nice check on my career to-do list. But ultimately, like, who cares? And that's it. And just like we went through this with the Sixers when they were in the process and just straight up losing on purpose. The league stepped in because, hey, one of our biggest markets isn't making any money.
They're just not trying.
Yeah, and like it's a media-driven league, the NBA. It's like, no, we need people watching the Sixers. And when the Sixers come to town, we need people going to those games. Yeah. It's a major market. We see the numbers. The team on a winning streak now. Our numbers are way better than they were 2 weeks ago when they were losing. And it's like, oh, that was fun, but it's over. Like, this is a major market. They need that. And so I understand why the national people are like, oh my God, this is so nice. But we're all kind of going, yeah, you know what else is nice? The first parade since fucking 1975.
Exactly.
Like, none of us were born.
Yeah, but I just yes, you have to have high draft picks to rebuild. You have to have some, more than one, really. The Flyers have now had 2. That's good, better than we've had in a long time.
It's a start.
I don't think that the only way this team becomes a contender is 1 or 2 more top 5 picks. I don't think that's the only path.
No,
And
they're going to have to
especially-
buy guys.
Right, and especially if, as of right now, I have a lot of faith in Danny Briere because he has yet to give me a reason to not have faith in him. And if he is a very good general manager, which he could be, I don't think there's any reason to believe that if the Flyers pick at 11 in the next draft, that somehow this is over. We're done. It's never going to happen. Cancel everything. Like I just feel like that kind of attitude, which I see a lot on social media with Flyers fans, is just like, it's silly. Like, let yourself enjoy this. It's not going to ruin everything because they've already set a foundation that's giving them a road to follow.
And I think,
at this point.
like, what's giving me, because again, it's the Flyers. They've done dumb stuff our entire lives. But when I hear like Todd Fedoruk going on a national show and the company line that he's spouting is, listen, it's still a rebuild.
Yeah, they're still
we
doing
are
it.
young, and the coach is telling us like, there's gonna be some losses.
Yeah,
It's like they're coming. That gives me at least the optimism. All right, they're not gonna do the dumb thing.
No,
like
and-
they're not gonna go get a number 3 defenseman at the deadline, and it's like, yeah, remember that Florida pick? It's gone.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
they're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So. Cool. And that's then knowing that I can enjoy what's happening because they're not going to do something dumb and ruin the rebuild, even though they're winning right now. Just a quick side note on this. Yes, by total points, the Flyers are second in the Metropolitan Division. They're high up in the Eastern Conference standings. By points percentage, they're 4th in the division and 7th in the conference. I don't understand why the default sort on NHL standings is points totals when everyone's at a different place in their schedule.
doesn't
Points
matter.
percentage.
I don't
points, I just like points percentage is really like that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the year
No, I look at the picture.
when everything's even.
Whatever makes the Flyers look better.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
look
you
at the
should do.
picture on my screen and it says second. So
I don't
know what you're talking about.
It's annoying to me that doesn't matter. It's just a small pet peeve. Like,
Look,
that's their place in the standings isn't actually their place in the
well,
standings.
the place in the standings is moving about all over the place all the time.
Look,
the
we
whole
all-
season.
But we all know, like, yeah, it's fun to say they're second in the Metro. We all know they're not going to finish the year second in the
Who
Metro.
knows?
Like, come on.
They might win it.
But they
don't know.
Yeah, they could win it. But seriously, like, if the Flyers make the playoffs, they're making the playoffs probably as a wild card team, and that's fine because we know what this roster's limitations are. We know they're not Carolina. We know they're not the Rangers. We know that.
I got to take a quick break to tell you about our new partner, AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it literally every day. I gave AG1 a try because, as I've told you plenty of times before, my life pre-PHLY was pretty much routineless. My schedule was different every day, but now I've got some normalcy in my life, and I want to try to be just a tad healthier, just a little bit. And AG1 is a tremendous way to kick off my morning routine. I drink AG1 every morning to start my day, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something good for my body because I'm giving my body the nutrition it craves and just starting off on the right foot. 1 scoop of AG1 for me and some water, maybe even my coffee while I'm getting my dog's breakfast and his medicine together, just doing my morning routine. I've even, and before I've even taken a shower or had anything to eat, like I feel like I've already accomplished something, and that sets me up to keep going throughout the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement, routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/flyers. That's drinkag1.com/flyers to check it out. You won't be disappointed. We have a legitimate AG1 customer sitting with us.
I buy it with my money.
Kelly is the
money.
Kelly is the healthiest person I know.
She is. She's definitely the healthiest person at this table.
Yes, and she uses it, so you know this isn't some sort of snake oil, and it tastes pretty good too.
I gotta try this coffee thing though. I'm dubious about the coffee thing, but I will try it.
I like weird stuff.
That's fair.
I mean,
So, like,
my only thing I'll say to you,
I used to
Bill-
drink my pre-exam meal in college was a Red Bull and Frosted Flakes.
Yeah,
to
that
get
tracks.
Oh, together?
I would, instead of milk, I would put Red Bull
No.
in the
Yeah,
Frosted
yeah.
Flakes.
Like, number one, how are you still alive? Number two,
I don't know.
My suggestion.
This is why I need AG1.
My suggestion to you with the AG1 is that, like, I'm glad you're using it. It seems like a very good product. However, don't let that tell you, like, oh, I'm using
good.
AG1.
Yeah.
Now I can drink 5 more beers tonight.
Yeah, that's what's informing my decisions. Anyway, so that's that. That's the kind of playoff, that whole conversation.
Yes, baby.
Newsy stuff. Staal has been activated. Sandstrom cleared waivers, sent down to the
I, for one,
Phantoms.
am shocked.
It is
Shocked
shocking.
that no team wanted
It
him.
is shocking that this dude who's not good enough to back up on a rebuilding team is not wanted by a good team. I mean, I guess there is just such a shortage of goalies, but he's not one of the 64 best goalies in the world. That's just what I take from having watched him the
No, and I think
last
it's
couple of
accurate.
years.
And this is why I was so irrationally angry that they were keeping him around, because it was just like, it's
What
not
do we
even,
do?
is it that big of a deal? No. But it's more like, why are you trying to sell me that Felix Sandstrom is so desired around the league that we just can't afford to lose him?
It's just like, we can't possibly lose this asset, devalue this asset. Also, Morgan Frost, you're never going to play. Yeah, this guy is probably at least replacement level NHL player. Yeah, we're not gonna build his value at all.
No.
We cannot possibly lose Felix Sandstrom.
Whatever will we do without Felix Sandstrom?
It's just very funny. That's
you
our
put it
Morgan
that
Frost
way.
talk for the day. But back, I think the interesting part of this is that Staal has officially been activated after he was cleared. They still hadn't played him, but now they've made it all official. Do we expect Zamula out of the lineup? I mean, they've won 5 in a row. I doubt it.
Well, so based on what I saw at practice today, they did run lines and pairings. It does not appear that Egor Zamula is coming out of the lineup. What it looked like, based on what they ran today, now granted, doesn't mean that's what they're going to run on Wednesday when they go up to the island and play the Islanders. But it did appear that Marc Staal was paired with Egor Zamula, and Louis Belpedio was on the extra pair with Ristolainen. And Ristolainen, he was not wearing the non-contact jersey. He was wearing a full contact jersey, but he remains on long-term injury reserve. So presumably he's not going to play on Wednesday, which leads you to believe that if Belpedio is on a pairing with him, that means Belpedio is out. Did see at the end of practice John Tortorella take Belpedio aside and have a conversation with him. Obviously, we couldn't overhear, but one assumes that conversation might be, "Hey, Louis, you did a really good job, great work, but you're going to sit."
And like right now they have the roster space and he would be the 7. They wouldn't even need to send him down because they're only at 22, I think, when Risto comes back.
No, they could keep him, I believe.
But then they'd have 8 defensemen.
Yeah, it's almost like, what's the
And
point?
why? Yeah.
But he's been better
enjoyed
than
him.
expected,
He's
right?
perfectly fine.
I liked him. Yeah. I mean, him coming out is not, I'm not gonna make a fuss about it because, whatever, he's fine. It's just been a nice little surprise to have this guy come up that like no one was really talking about before and have him perform pretty well.
It's nice because, and like Chuck Fletcher would talk a lot about the idea of, we need depth throughout the organization. We need to, our 8th and 9th guys on the depth chart on defense, they matter too because guys get hurt and they need to play. And then
Certainly do.
Then invariably, with probably Nick Seeler the only exception, invariably those guys would come up and be god awful.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a guy in Belpedio who can come up and be fine.
No, and I remember when everything was first happening with the defense. It's like, yeah, we don't know when Risto's going to be back. Stahl's has gone down now. And it was like, all right, Andre's getting sent down. What's going to happen? And I was like, listen, if it's Addard, if it's Jennings, awesome. If it's Belpedio and Mete, I'm going to have a history.
And it sure was.
And it was them.
exactly them.
No, and they came up and they were much better than expected. Yeah. So maybe they do actually have this organizational depth now where someone can get hurt and it's like, yeah, we only have 5 defensemen now. Like, perhaps that's good for this team.
And there's also an element, too, where when the guys that are getting hurt aren't super great anyway.
Yeah.
Like, Marc Staal, the gap between Marc Staal and Louis Belpedio, probably not that large.
Not at this point, no.
You're not really. And it's why I think, like, listen, Marc Staal might not work his way back into this lineup right away. They're winning a ton of games.
It does look like, though, he's probably going to get back in on Wednesday. You would think that, like, why would they take him off IR if you're not going to play him? I think he will probably play on Wednesday. And it'll be interesting to see how he looks because as much shit as he got in the early season, mostly from fans who just wanted to see Zamula and Andre in the lineup at the same time, I thought he was getting better. He had a good game, I thought, against Vancouver. He was having a good game against Edmonton. He had a couple shifts against McDavid where he looked pretty good, and then he gets hurt and he's out for a month and a half. So I'm intrigued to see whether we get the Staal from the first 2 games of the year who did not look like an NHL player, or if we get the Staal from the next 2 games before he got hurt when he looked pretty decent.
And he is the one guy that whether they sell or not, they could trade.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're getting anything of substance for him, but a third's better than a fourth if he looks good, you know?
Yeah.
That's it. So now we think Zamula is going to stay in. Staal is back. Who do we believe are Sanheim and Walker, obviously.
Obviously.
Who are the lineup locks beyond that once they're at 7 or 8 defensemen?
We're just talking about the defense?
Healthy. Yeah, we're talking the defense right now. I'm done with the Morgan Frost conversation, at least until mailbag.
Never again.
I'm done with
Look, I think in the short term, York is a lock. Yeah. I don't think he's a lock forever. If he has 3 or 4 bad games, I think having the additional depth of guys like Risto and Staal back in the lineup, back in the rotation, allows for Torts to throw a hissy fit and bench him for a game if he wants to send a message. But I don't think that's going to happen right away. I think in the short term, York is a lock. Now, beyond that, look, I don't think that Nick Seeler deserves to be a lock all the time. But right now, he's playing real well. Yeah. He doesn't deserve to come out.
And Seeler was the guy who crossed my mind. I was like, yeah, the first couple of games of the season, I could understand why maybe he's not going to be part of this lineup every single night. But he's been a lot better lately.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a single actual lock outside of the top pair. I think that we could see all of these guys rotated in and out as long as they are all healthy and that kind of stuff. It's nice to see them, though, giving Zamula an opportunity to play out of what has been, kind of not super great. Not the best we've seen of him the last couple of games.
I think the thing that's saving Zamula, which, compare this to Emile Andre. Emile Andre was just struggling, period. It was game after game after game. He looked overmatched. He looked like he needed time in the
not
AHL
ready. He looked not ready.
Whereas Zamula, it's been like this.
Yes.
He'll have a pretty good game. You're like, he's made a couple really good defensive plays, a couple nice passes. Then he'll have a game like in Carolina where he was overmatched, had an awful delay game penalty. Like, he just didn't look good. But it's not like it's this. It's this. And I think that's giving them the reason where it's like right when they're about to say, hey, maybe he needs to sit for a few games, then he delivers a pretty good game. And you say, you know what? Maybe it's better for him to just take his lumps because it's not like he's bad every night.
No, and it would have been easy, I think, for Tortorella to take Zamula out and leave Belpedio in. Like, he could have done that.
Yeah,
I don't even think that anyone would have been upset about it.
I agree.
And I think it shows, again, that commitment to the fact that we are rebuilding and we need Zamula to be something. And if he's going to be, he's got to play through this
or at
kind
least
of
you need
crap.
to know if he's something.
Yes, right, exactly.
Which I think goes back to, and I know everyone's going to point to, but who they take out of the lineup for him? I get that. I know the Morgan Frost thing is always going to be a thing. But the fact that Bobby Brink got back in the lineup, the game after, they took down the defending champions in an awesome... that's not what a coaching staff does.
Typically not.
Normally, a coaching staff is like, hey, we just had this big win. I can't change that lineup even a little bit. And instead, Torts was like, no, I need to get Bobby Brink back into a game. He's coming back in. Now, granted, the fact that it was Morgan Frost opens up an entirely different can of worms.
It was the most...
But the fact of the matter is that John Tortorella clearly does not view Morgan Frost as one of the guys that he needs to learn more about.
He doesn't see him as anything.
A human person.
He's not going to be part of this. It doesn't matter how good he is.
No.
That's did you hear yesterday's show, my conspiracy theory?
Yes.
That Staal wasn't actually cleared,
Yeah.
but this is all just...
You're 100% right.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before we move on to Mailbag Monday on Tuesday, I got to tell you about my friends, the makers of Hero Bread. Listen, I think this time of year we could all use little help making some better decisions. I just told you, basically, I need help making every decision in my life. But with
Thank God you have Ava, man.
it's truly, I would not be alive. I know with football every Sunday, there's tons of hockey games every night, holiday parties coming up, everything going on this time of year. I'm going to be taking in a lot of calories. I'm going to be drinking a ton of carbs. I'm told that's maybe not the best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And that's where Hero Bread comes in. Hero makes sliced breads, buns, and tortillas that are available on hero.co as well as Amazon. I've been making a ton of the quesadillas with the Hero tortillas, but all of their products have hit the spot for me because this bread is soft, fluffy, and delicious. And right now, Hero Bread is offering the PHLY fam 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use our code PHLY to save on Hero Bread today. That's hero.co to save 10% today with our code PHLY. And now, it is time for just another Mailbag Tuesday.
You just love singing that, don't you?
I do. It's a great song. Billy Joe has it. Has Manic Monday on a cover album he did, and it's excellent.
Okay.
We're gonna start out with, of course, a question about Morgan Frost.
Yay.
This comes from our buddy RJ Smiley. He asks, will Frost get dragged along like this until the deadline? If the Flyers manage a wild card spot, do they automatically lose out on selling off vets/expiring UFAs? I believe we'd benefit more from selling than buying. Not sure the brass will agree. And I'm going to put this into two different parts. Okay. Does this thing with Frost last until the deadline, at which point we think there could be a trade that would open up a spot for him? I think it lasts forever because Frost is not going to be a part of this. The coach doesn't like him. Doesn't matter how good he is. He's gone as soon as they can get rid of him.
I think it could it wouldn't shock me if this keeps up. Like
it's going to keep up until next year if he's here next year.
What I was going to say was that if this keeps up, I could see Morgan Frost being one of the guys they sell at the deadline.
Yes.
If they find somebody who wants to give him a shot.
Yeah.
A team who maybe doesn't have a bunch of center depth, but is in a battle for a playoff spot. And they look at Morgan Frost and they say, you know what? He's better than what we got, and he's got upside. Let's give it a go. I could see that. Now, I would like to see Morgan Frost get a fair shake here. Yes. That would be my ideal. But the longer this goes, the more you think that probably isn't going to happen.
I would like to see a lot of things, and some of them just ain't ever going to happen. Yeah. Like Morgan Frost is not going to be anything here. He might be something somewhere else, or he might stink. It doesn't matter, though. It's not happening here. The second part of this is what I alluded to earlier in the show. Right. The idea of, will they lose out on selling off vets/expiring USAs? I believe we'd benefit more from selling than buying. Not sure Brass will agree. They're not going to buy, I don't think.
No, definitely not going to buy. Yeah.
We talked about this a bit yesterday in terms of these vets/expiring UFAs. We're talking about one guy, it's Sean Walker. Yeah. Everyone else of any value, like I said, they can sell Marc Staal. That's not selling. He's a guy who barely factors in.
And they're not going to get, even if they don't, like, what are they going to get
What
for
are they
him?
getting for him? Yeah.
Get a late round.
Like, this is Justin Braun again.
Yeah,
you
right.
Everyone else has term left.
Yeah.
So
you don't need to.
If they don't sell these guys, yes, that's annoying. You get, when there's a bidding war, deadlines, spur action, all that stuff. It would be annoying if you don't get something for Cam Atkinson. It would be annoying if you don't get something for Sean Walker. I think they badly need to trade him because he is on that expiring. But everyone else with term, you can do that at the draft. You can do it on July 1st. You can do it throughout the offseason. You can do it all the time next season leading up to the trade deadline.
When guys like Atkinson,
when they become rentals.
Right.
Like, you have more time to get it done. Now, if those dudes ultimately walk in free agency a year or two from now, then it's retroactively bad.
Yeah, agreed.
But as long as that possibility exists, we can say, and this is the path to make it okay.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't sell him, it's not the end of the world.
And talking about somebody like Atkinson in particular, it would not shock me in the slightest if the way they look at it with Atkinson is that, you know what, right now he's helping. He's having a good year. He's showing that he can still play at a pretty high level, or at least at like what his previously high level was before the injury that he had last year. But then in the offseason, they may look at it and they'd be like, you know what? He's good, but Bobby Brink's ready. Clearly, Tyson Forrester's ready. Clearly, like maybe Owen Tippett's better on the right side, and then it becomes like we're not selling you because we're rebuilding. We're selling you because just as a spot for you anymore, man.
Yeah, and also I think I could see them keeping Atkinson around for this entire season, just because he wasn't around much last year, and he's definitely like instilling good culture and work ethic in the kids kind of guy.
They absolutely. I think like Travis Konechny is ready to take up that mantle maybe as the bridge to Torts, but like they brought in Marc Staal for a reason. Cam Atkinson, they're like taking care of him for like Tortorella, while I do believe he's doing a good job, he sometimes might need an interpreter. Like you might just need then like one of the pro best friends. And I know we like gave that a bad rap, professional best friend, because it was like bad players, but these guys are actually good. Like Cam Atkinson, good to come up and be like, this is what he wants. I know he's fucking with you. He's playing the mind games.
I know he's crazy. I know.
No,
I get it.
He's an insane person. But like, he's not Mike Babcock. That like I think like sometimes we need to like maybe some guys who don't have the best relationship with him need that explained. Like he wants you to be good. He's not trying to ruin your career unless like you worship at the altar of the greatness of him, like maybe a Mike Babcock. Like he's trying to make this rebuild work. Like, and having those guys around might not be the worst thing in the world. Although like, damn, Cam Atkinson's really good. It would be pretty dope to get a nice return for a guy like that who's at this age not going to be part of the future.
Atkinson strikes me as a guy who very much makes sense to sell in the offseason. Because number one, he's helping now. I think one place he's helping a lot, not just in terms of what he's doing, but in terms of what he's probably saying behind closed doors, is on the penalty kill. This penalty kill has been really good. And Bradshaw runs the penalty kill. Bradshaw ran the penalty kill in Columbus, who Cam Atkinson played under for years in Columbus and became a penalty kill guy under him. So I bet Atkinson is helping out a lot in terms of pushing them to play the more aggressive style that they're playing this year. Not that they didn't play aggressive last year, but they've turned it up a notch this year, I think. And I think Atkinson's probably playing a big role there in terms of teaching the younger guys, like, this is what Bradshaw wants. This is what he doesn't want. This is what he wants. Now let's go out there and do it. So to me, Atkinson makes way more sense to trade in the offseason because, number one, you want that for the year. Number two, cap's going up. Suddenly, there's a lot more teams that might be interested in adding one more year of Cam Atkinson.
This is just a thing I thought of. You know how like sometimes on football teams there's like a healthy rivalry between the offense and defense. Now, there are no crossover players, so like it's different groups of guys, but there are some players who just kill penalties, and there are some guys who are on the power play that don't kill penalties, you know.
Sure.
Do you think like there's a little bit maybe of a competition for this scoring race? Like, do you think like the penalty kill guys are deep down going, let's beat the power play?
I want that to be true.
I just wonder, like the way you see, and Sean Walker does both, but I see Sean Walker at the blue line making that play to send them on the 2-on-0, and I go, they want this, man. The power play's been hot, and they don't want to relinquish this lead.
I think it's less that they're having a competition, but I would not at all be shocked if, like, behind closed doors, the penalty kill guys are giving the power play guys shit. Like, you better step it up. We're catching you.
I bet it's more the coaches than any. Like the coaches busting each other's balls.
Probably.
Like we're only a goal behind you. I think it's 7-5 or 7-6. I can't.
Bradshaw is just like such the nicest guy in the world. Like I feel like Rocky Thompson, who coaches the power play, has more of the personality to be giving Bradshaw shit rather than the other way around. It's just Bradshaw is doing a significantly better job coaching his unit than Rocky is doing at coaching his.
I just thought of that when we were talking about it. I think it's fun. A question from F. This nonsense. I chose this mostly because of your name, but also
you wanted to say that.
Yeah. Per Elliot Friedman, interest in Walker is starting to manifest. Should they wait for the deadline or instead try to sell high now?
Can I rant about this for a second?
Yay.
Floor is yours, my friend.
Like, I understand the argument here. I get it. I do get why fans say this. I think fans should disabuse themselves of the notion that selling a guy in November is ever going to happen. It doesn't happen. This is not a case of the Flyers are just too stupid to sell high. Nobody's looking to make trades right now, really. There's maybe an Edmonton who is severely underachieving, might be looking to make a trade to shake things up. Beyond that, these trade markets don't start getting going until like January. And it's not the failing of the GM because you didn't trade him in November. It's because no one is really looking to buy right now. Everybody's trying to figure out what they have on their team.
Like, you can see this time of year hockey trades. Like,
Yes.
I always think of the Matt Carl, Steve Eminger trade. Like, this isn't working. We need to let's swap dudes. Like, that can work this time of year.
Yes.
But selling, like,
it just
that
doesn't
ain't
happen.
happening.
It just doesn't happen.
Like, especially considering, like, the Flyers are going to, at the deadline, they're going to maintain salary, retain salary, do whatever they have to do to get the best possible return. You sell them now, say that's a possibility. In the world where selling is a possibility in, 2 days before Thanksgiving. There's no bidding war.
No.
There's one team calling it
Exactly.
maybe Edmonton's desperate.
Yeah.
And who else?
Yeah.
There's
just not a market. And while Elliot Friedman, I 100% believe this is the case, where he says interest in Walker is starting to manifest.
Yeah. UFA.
That doesn't mean they're getting calls saying, we'll give you a second-round pick for Sean Walker. That means that Danny is getting calls from people saying, hey, where are you guys at with Walker? Because when the deadline comes up, I want to know if he's an option for us at the deadline. They're not making offers now. That's not how this works. They're checking in to see, like, hey, are you guys planning to re-sign that guy, or might he be available in January and February? That's what Friedman means when he's saying interest is starting to manifest. It's, hey, we want to know because we want to know if we should send a scout to watch 2 weeks of Flyers games to see if we actually want this dude.
Yeah.
That's what he means.
There's no, this isn't happening at this point. Like, it just, maybe he gets hurt. Maybe his play falls off the table.
And that would suck.
And we all go, well, God damn it, you could have got a first for him in November. But you couldn't have. No, you actually couldn't have.
Only on Shell.
Yeah, that's
only on Shell.
It is much easier to, like, be an aggressive GM in a video game where you're against, yourself. From Flyers fan 39, a regular mailbag contributor, thoughts on Zamula? It seems to me after a shaky start, he's been finding his footing with less mistakes, smarter passes, and some really good plays against top guys. Not sure I want Staal back in.
We talked a little bit about him earlier.
I thought, like, shaky start. I don't know if this. I thought he was really good to start. I was like, oh, so he's going to be a top 4 defenseman, huh? And then it was really
he dropped off.
And now he's doing the, as Charlie put,
the
like
zigzag.
And that's honestly, if he's a third pair defenseman, that's
good.
That's what third pair defensemen are.
Yeah.
Like, what's the hardest thing to be in professional sports? Consistent. If you're consistently good, you're a top 4 defenseman. Your 6 is going to be inconsistent. That might be just what he is.
Yeah. And if that's what he is, then he's not necessarily someone you give away for nothing. He's just not someone you prioritize.
Yeah.
No. And you need to have a good third pair. Like, having a good third pair defenseman isn't bad.
Yeah.
No.
Remember Ryan Parent?
No, never forget the 2010 final in which those
Lucas
dudes were
Krychek? No, thank you.
Those dudes were playing like 8 seconds a game and were somehow -2.
Yes.
Like, it takes longer. It takes longer to skate from the face-off circle to, like, the goal than they were getting, and somehow goals were going in when they were on the ice. You do need the good third pair. Yes, you basically roll with 4 and give them half a game, but someone has to play sometimes. Like, they need a rest every now and then, so you do need those guys too. From Marshall Morrisow. During the streak, they've beaten some good teams, but is there any game coming up that might be a little more of a measuring stick?
The Rangers game is kind of going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, just looking at the standings, the way they are,
and also
it's Flyers,
we all
Rangers,
hate the Rangers.
It's Black Friday game.
Exactly.
Like, it's the rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah. That said, though, I don't think it's quite fair to say, like, they've beaten some good teams. They beat the friggin' Golden Knights, man.
They've played the Golden Knights twice. They nearly beat them and then beat, like, and that's the, like, Tortorella keeps saying the losses are coming. Like, the measuring stick is going to be their consistency throughout this season. Whether they win or lose, it's like, how are they playing?
Yeah.
Do they look like, are they in these games? Are they just getting smashed in January by when they start playing the contending teams again, when the schedule comes back around? Like, all right, those teams stepped up their level because we're at the midway point and now they're just beating the shit out of us. Or no, we're maintaining, we're competitive in these games. Like, I don't think there's any one game because also there's going to be clunkers.
Sure.
Like they just
Every
lost.
team has clunkers.
They just lost to fucking San Jose and now they're on a 5-game winning streak.
They did that.
Like, there's going to be those bad games. There are for every team. Like Edmonton also lost to San Jose.
What Vegas fans are saying about them losing to the Flyers.
Yeah, they just
every
lost
now
to
and again. There's a clunker.
They just lost to the state of Pennsylvania. Like they are better than both of these teams.
Sure.
There's not going to be any one game that's a measuring stick. It's going to be, were they competitive in 70 out of 82?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm looking at.
That's a good answer.
And to this point, like I think that's kind of the pace they're on. Nick Hankins asks, with Cutter on the way, what is the logical move or moves you anticipate them making to free up roster space for Cutter and other younger players? Like
Morgan Frost.
I was going to say, is Morgan Frost either traded or starts collecting the bags after practice or is like fired into the sun? He will not be here blocking Cutter Gautier's road to center.
He's not blocking Ryan Paling's road to
I
center.
know. Yeah. Fair enough.
we're going to get to that in a minute. And it's actually not the thing I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, the logical, most obvious move, whether it's trading him, whatever, just benching him, putting him in the press box.
Yeah.
There will be, Morgan Frost will not be a roadblock to anybody.
No, there's a Morgan
Unless
Frost
something
size
changes
hole.
dramatically. And he goes on a crazy run
Yeah,
over
if
the
Sean
next 2
Couturier
months.
gets hurt.
He's not going to go on a crazy run because he's never going to get the chance to go on
If
a crazy
a bunch
run.
of guys get hurt.
Okay,
That's what it
the
is.
only way. Okay, yeah.
Me.
Okay,
That's it.
fair.
But to follow up on this, Morgan Frost to me is the obvious one, and the other guy is someone we talked about,
Cam Atkinson.
and that I don't think would happen this year, but
I
I
don't
could
think
see,
it's going to.
because you think about it. Okay, Cutter Gauthier, they're trying to develop him as a center. That's what they want him to be. If he's not a center, he's probably a left wing. Who's playing left wing right now? Owen Tippett is, but he's playing left wing because Cam Atkinson is a right wing. So if you decide that you want to have Cutter Gauthier have a spot available because you decide he's a winger, then the guy that you probably move out of the way is Owen Tippett. Move him back over to the right. You probably clear out Cam Atkinson, and suddenly there's a spot. So to me, those are your two guys. Frost is the no-brainer unless something dramatically changes. And then Atkinson, because stylistically, like, yeah, Gautier's way bigger. But, like, they're both shooter-type guys.
Yeah.
Stylistically, like, that would be the guy you move out so you don't have too many shooters on the team.
Imagine
I know.
a
What
world
what a
like
terrible-
Claude Giroux gone,
I know.
team full of dudes who can shoot.
All of a sudden.
I want to punch somebody. Like whoever.
I don't like
like,
thinking about that.
oh yeah, we're gonna give you Jake Voracek, who's you, and we're gonna give you here's Michael Raffle, a fourth liner, a good fourth liner.
Oh, man.
But just like the thought process of, oh man, Raffle scored 21. Let's keep him up there. Why wasn't the thought process, what if he had a good player? Imagine what a good player could do.
Yep,
But
yep.
I'll never get over
Mind-boggling.
it. They will need to win the Stanley Cup before I fully get over the fumbling of the Claude Giroux era. But we're focusing on the now. Can't change it. Just something I've been thinking about because these rumors are all starting to come out. Teams are front offices starting to wake up a little because everyone sees their place in the standings and they know what happens on Thanksgiving. You're in or you're out, and it might be where you end up. Columbus. They are in absolute freaking terms. They're a shit show.
Yeah, they're dumpster
Yeah,
fire.
what is happening?
They are looking for centers. Morgan Frost, maybe not the caliber of player they're looking for, but
He's a
a
center.
points-producing center. What do you think his value actually even is?
You know what I'm
What
thinking?
would you, if you were to make a hockey trade with Columbus, whether for future, whatever it is, a player, like, what's he get? What are we getting back for a dude with 40-ish point potential that the team clearly has no interest in developing?
If I'm Columbus, I'm looking at Johnny Gaudreau and I'm thinking he's not working here.
You're still on the bring Johnny to
Maybe he
Philly.
needs a change of scenery. So we just do a little swap. Morgan Frost for Johnny Gaudreau.
You
Here we
kid,
go.
Each
Here we
guy
go.
can get going.
you kid, but not now. I can see that happening down the
I know.
line. I can see them trading. If he gets back to some semblance of the player he was when he signed, I could see them maybe needing a veteran scorer and bring him in. But
one idea,
2-3 years
and
away,
to be
you know,
clear,
like the Flyers.
To be
always
clear, this was very much just two people chatting and just throwing shit at the wall. I was having a conversation with Al Morganti today at practice,
Ooh.
and we were talking about the Johnny Gaudreau problem. And Al brought up, like, this would be wild, and it would be really, really funny. the idea of doing a swap between Calgary and Columbus. Huberdeau for Gaudreau. Johnny goes back to Calgary.
Man,
my
that would be
God.
so goddamn
That would be
funny.
amazing.
He does, however, have a no move.
Yeah, but like to Columbus, like he has a no move. Does it matter?
He does not want to play on
Okay,
the
okay.
opposite side of the world.
Okay, but he almost went back to Calgary last time. Apparently, he made the decision at the last minute.
He doesn't seem to be very happy in Columbus.
Yeah.
I would
Suddenly,
be-
Calgary's looking a lot better.
Chuck Fletcher
I would be-
destroyed this man's
I
soul.
would be
is what happened.
absolutely shocked if he ever went back.
But to answer your question about
Morgan Frost
the
value.
Frost value, the Columbus idea, I would guess Frost probably is like mid-round pick value at this point, somewhere like that third, fourth. Because someone asked me on Twitter today, like, do you think Morgan Frost could potentially bring back a first? And my thing was like, if he could, he wouldn't be here anymore. They would have traded. They would have traded for a first already.
Yeah, like they would have traded his rights this offseason.
Yeah, like he would be gone. But I would think he probably is like in the mid-round range, or like do some sort of misfit for misfit trade. Like you brought up Columbus. Like I don't know where Adam Boquist is right now, but like Adam Boquist, we're talking about like a former top 10 pick, already got traded once, right-handed shooting defenseman. Like could I see that being a swap where the Flyers are like, yeah, let's give it a go. Maybe your trash for my trash.
Wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
From Gresco, another great name. What Flyers asset has the greatest value and makes good sense to trade this season? And what is a reasonable expected return for this asset?
I mean, it's Walker, probably.
Walker.
I mean, like,
And to
Konechny-
me, you have to get a first.
Like, Konechny has the most value.
Right, but
But
you're not
trading. If you're battling for a playoff spot, you're certainly not trading Travis Konechny.
I don't think they're trading him under any circumstances.
Probably not. But, like, it certainly wouldn't be in season.
Well, here's the thing, like, this is why trades don't happen until the deadline, because none of these questions can be answered right now.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows what they need, like Charlie was saying. No one knows what they can afford to bring on. Like, it's who knows?
Yeah.
It's going to depend. Like Marc Staal could become very, very, very valuable if there are 4 teams looking for a right-handed defenseman going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Or,
And then-
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, or just a veteran type. Yeah.
Right,
Because
exactly.
he's a lefty. But, yeah,
sorry.
just like a veteran type. And Stahl can play both sides. I mean, he's done that before. But, yeah, I think you're right. Like, it just depends on what the market is. And also,
Right.
we don't know where the Flyers are going to be.
No.
Like, right now, we're staring at a Flyers team, as you guys noted, second in the Metro.
In the playoffs.
Sorta.
We're 18 games in. By the middle of January, they could be 7th in the Metro. You don't know. We just don't know.
That's the thing about the Thanksgiving thing is the season did used to start a little earlier.
It did.
Like you might be at like the 25 mark now instead of 18, but
It's a stupid
It's
thing, but I
still
like it. I still like doing it.
again, we're content producers.
Yeah.
It's every
We're
day.
making the
It is what it
content.
is.
It's every day.
But yeah, I would say Walker. Like to me, Walker is the guy who
Walker's the one.
He's the one who is most likely to make sense to trade now, and also likely to have real value
Yes.
if this is for real. He's the guy who you're going to have to make a real call on.
I will answer this with kind of a joint answer with the making room for guys like Cutter Gauthier and other young players. Maybe they want to call up a Licksell or something. Scott Laughton. Scott Laughton.
spicy.
I
spicy
love
meatball.
I
I
love
know.
Scott Laughton.
I would have traded him over this summer.
Does he fit? Like, what's he really going to be when this team is good? A fourth liner?
Probably.
Yeah. I know. And he has a lot of value, I would think.
Oh yeah.
The league
So
likes him.
playoff teams.
Everybody likes him.
And again, like he's not the fighter. I brought this up. Like not the fighter Tanner Jeannot is, but if he's going for a first, man, like all right, but Scott Laughton can play up in the lineup.
Yeah.
Maybe
But
not ideally, but he can.
But again, if we're talking about this idea of what happens if the Flyers are in a playoff race,
then they're not trading their captain.
Yeah, they're not going to rip
facto
they're not going to
captain.
rip the heart and soul out of that
Yes.
locker room in the middle of a playoff.
I'm just trying to
But no,
come up with an
he'll have
interesting
value.
answer
Absolutely.
to this question.
Absolutely, he'll have
Because
value.
we talked about Sean Walker every time we've done the show for 2 weeks.
Sure.
Obviously, he's the one.
Yeah.
To me, Laughton might be interesting.
Yeah.
From Ed Helinsky. Which Flyers, I like this because he did a little theme for us with
love that.
Thanksgiving.
I love
Which
that.
Flyers have been turkeys so
Ew.
far and need to step up their games?
I would say recently, definitely Noah Cates.
Yep, that's my answer.
I think he's the guy who they need more from. And apparently, we talked to Torts today after practice. Torts did say that, he knows that he needs more from Noah Cates. He's going to try to get Noah Cates into more offensive situations. But he's been struggling a bit. And Ryan Poehling has taken that third line center role that was projected to be Noah Cates's. Look, that's on Noah Cates. And look, I'm not saying it's going to be easy doing it with Delorier and Hathaway as your wingers, but you got to make some plays. You got to make some plays, and you got to make it clear to the coach with maybe a few really good shifts to start a game, so that if the team's down 2-0 and you're the guy who's going, then you get bumped up midway through the second period, and then you make your own luck. You show the coaches you're ready to get a promotion.
I feel like we're not getting enough fighting out of Nick Delorier.
Ooh.
His fights per 60 is a little low.
We got the fight last game.
Nobody really wants a piece.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, yeah.
I just watched
It's just
the way
presence per 60.
the way guys, even when they take fights with him,
I don't want
and like,
to.
I criticized them the other day, and I really wish I didn't. Like I was like, why am I criticizing
doing
my
this?
favorite player on the team? Like when they're on a 5-game winning streak. But I just thought that Columbus game was an example of not him, but the idea of the enforcer protecting. I'm like, well, who the hell was protected? I just watched Tyson Forster get boarded. Like regardless.
I just liked your fight per game goal. I liked it.
Like Pat Maroon, he had that pro wrestling fight to start the game a couple of weeks ago where they just like off the face-off went.
Yeah.
And Maroon took the fight, and he's a big guy and he can throw him. And he was just like, I want no part of this, and just used his size advantage to keep Delorier away from him, and didn't really even try to hit him.
Yeah.
He was just like, no.
Yeah.
I'm just not getting knocked out by a dude smaller than me. Like that was like, no one really wants him. And that's the other part of the enforcer role is like, there's only like 5 of these dudes.
Yeah,
you know?
if that.
There's guys who can go like Hathaway. And those are like, for a while, he had more fights than Delorier because like middleweights will fight other middleweights, but I don't expect, the Scott Lawton of the other team to be like, I want Delorier.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're going to get hurt, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
he will beat the crap out of you. It's inevitable.
I want a little
It's
more.
it's like the PK Subban. You do not fight Wayne
Do
Simmons.
not fight Wayne. Yeah.
You just don't fight Wayne Simmons. Don't do it.
Like I've seen, it is time as a flyer. I saw Wayne Simmons maybe lose 2 fights, and one of them was to Jamie Alexiak.
He was like 6'7".
Who's Zdeno Chara's size. Like it was just like he can't reach him.
Yeah.
He would beat him up if he could reach, but it's not getting there. And that was maybe one more I saw him lose. But a little more on Noah Cates for a second. Maybe he's just a 4th liner and a good one who can take shifts against top lines and kill penalties, gives you that opportunity to have a 4th line that maybe isn't just killing time out there for the top 3 to get a breather. And when you draft a guy in the 5th round and he's an NHLer, that's a win, right? Like 5th round pick turned down the NHL, good pick. I was hoping for him to be a little bit more of what we thought Oscar Lindblom was going to be. Like Lindblom, when he got diagnosed, was leading the team in goals. I don't think anyone ever thought like, oh, well, he's going to be a top-line guy. But that third-line dude who just gives you that great two-way play and can chip in offensively and be that little diamond in the rough for you. 5th round win. A W in the 5th round is big. He's not quite that, it doesn't seem.
I am still a Noah Cates believer.
Okay.
I think it's going to come. And the thing I will say also about Noah Cates that gives you another avenue you can take if this continues through the next 2 months, where he's just not producing offensively. He's a 4th line center. Don't forget that he's probably better at wing. You can always, if you really want to, you can always say, you know what? Maybe the center thing just isn't going to work at the NHL level. He's not going to score enough at that spot to be more than a 4th liner, but maybe he can be a middle 6 play driving wing, which is what they were hoping Oscar Lindblom was going to be anyway, because he was never a center, period. So you have that, like, in case of emergency, break glass option of moving him back to wing. Because one thing I've always thought with Cates, and this is dating back to his time in college, and then also when he got that call up at the end of 2 seasons ago and he looked really good. I thought one of his best traits was being the first guy in on the forecheck, being the F1. And when he plays center, he's not going to do that as often because the center is the low guy.
He's low in the defensive zone.
Usually gets into the offensive zone last out of the forwards, or at least second. If you were to put him back at wing, maybe you take more advantage of that forechecking ability, because I don't think that's just going to go away. He's going to have that. He's not going to stop being a good forechecker.
When he's on the ice, regardless of what line he's on, once they get in the offensive zone, he's big on the cycle, great on those second effort forechecks. Like, he's good at that stuff still. Yeah. It's just like not scoring the way I thought he would. At least take that step. But we did, like you pointed out last time, we had this conversation about Sean Couturier for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, and it lasted longer than it was.
Not the same,
Probably
but-
should have. No, and it's not. But it just
No case is like
I call him-
JV Couturier.
Yeah,
Right,
I call him
yeah.
Couturier light. Like that's what we're looking for, and just a little more offense. But I hope he can figure something out. And the idea of moving him to wing might make sense at some point. Like, let us not forget, they had no centers last year. They had one, and the coach was like, "Nah, he ain't a center," and that dude's no longer. Yeah, that dude's no longer here. And Sean Couturier's hurt. And it's like, yeah, Scott Laughton can play center, and Noah Cates, we're gonna make you're the de facto 1C now. Congratulations,
Get in
Cates.
there.
Guess what? It's you.
Yeah, and he was never a center to begin with, so maybe the idea of moving him to wing could eventually pay off. One more here from submitted questions.
Get an ad read in?
Oh yeah, good call. No, the game time still. Listen, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. So maybe it's Friday, you got your Black Friday shopping done early, you're good. Guess what? Flyers Rangers. Why not check it out?
It's a measuring stick game.
It is.
So I heard.
It's the big
on this
one.
show.
This is
I've
the
been
big one.
saying.
Yeah, man. Be there for the history-making event. Flyers take over first place in the Metro. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals. I already did that line. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, from Pat McKay. Less than a year after Chuck Fletcher's departure, and this team is much better than anyone thought they'd be. Does Chuck deserve credit for putting this team together, or are they succeeding despite Chuck's best efforts?
This is a question we could spend an entire show on.
Yes.
What, pray tell, did Chuck Fletcher do exactly to construct this particular hockey team?
I suppose the thing
Nick Delorier?
that's like
Delorier.
what were his biggest moves?
Yeah.
Risto, who ain't playing.
Not
Risto isn't
playing.
Ryan Ellis, who doesn't exist.
I don't know him.
Nick Delorier, who is the fighter. Tony D, who was bought out because it made more sense than actually trading him. The Flyers saved money on the deal.
I guess
hiring the coach, but was that really him?
Yeah, I think that was everybody. Look, there are some guys that Fletcher deserves credit for. Like Fletcher did draft Tyson Forrester and Bobby Brink, so okay,
Fair.
there you go. Although maybe you put that on Brett Flair, who is still here. I think there's probably a reason he's still here, even though Fletcher is gone, because they think he's done a good job at drafting. So keep doing that. Just take out the guy at the top who was making all the mistakes. I think everyone, even the most vehement Chuck Fletcher haters, can acknowledge that given the circumstances of the Giroux trade, getting Owen Tippett was really good.
It was. I don't know how he pulled off a very difficult thing and then was like, yeah, I can't figure out how to trade JVR for nothing. Like, I can't figure out how to give a guy away for $3.5 million.
Makes me think that Florida was like, what don't we want? I don't know. Owen Tippett's not working. Let's see if they'll take him. And then they were like, do you want Owen Tippett for Claude Giroux? And Chuck was like, okay. And then that,
Like, even the future first they got out of them.
Yeah.
Now, listen, Florida could go on to get
Maybe
back
that
to the
was
Stanley
Chuck's
Cup final.
contribution.
But, like, chances are the 2024 pick they get from Florida better than the one they would have gotten in 2023 because that would have been the 31st pick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a good chance.
Good point.
It's, say it's in the 20s. Like, even that worked out. And Owen Tippett, we could see that he did an excellent job with that. But I asked, to follow up on this idea of Chuck, I guess, like, just looking at the moves he made, maybe there won't be that Ed Wade comparison. Like, after the fact, we can step back and go, oh, Ed Wade didn't break up a team that went on to win a championship. Like, it was his decision to be like, Utley's untouchable. Ryan Madsen's untouchable. Like, all these dudes who ended up being part of a thing that was a great team. He made some decent moves.
I think he made some decent moves, but I also think that, like, you can't, number one.
But I think it'll be Hextall is the one we're comparing him to.
Yeah, but fair. But I think, like, if you're looking at Fletcher, okay, number one, to me, the biggest thing, and when I really fully turned on Fletcher, was when, not this past summer, but the summer before, when you trade Giroux and you don't rebuild. I thought that was insane. And that was when it was like,
It's a retool, Charlie.
like, you've completely lost the plot. What are you actually doing here? You trade Giroux, but you re-sign Risto, and then you go and trade 3 draft picks for Tony DeAngelo, but you don't go after Goudreau. Like, you don't have a plan. You're just throwing darts at a wall. This makes no coherent sense. So there's that, and he deserves all the criticism in the world for that. Then there's the simple fact that everyone and their mother knew that Ivan Provorov was a problem in that locker room for years. And Chuck Fletcher would not trade him. Chuck Fletcher was, I guess, scared that if he let go the number one defenseman, the defense would fall apart. Well, they let go the number one defenseman, and the defense is somehow better. So maybe you shouldn't have been hesitating to trade Provorov. And then the other guy who they traded to maybe make this team better was the big free agent signing of Chuck Fletcher, Kevin Hayes.
Listen, Kevin Hayes, Ivan Provorov, they didn't look good, but it's real easy for you to look good. All you got to do is shop at FOCO, because FOCO is the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Whether you're looking for team apparel for the season ahead, overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, anything you need for game day, or maybe you need some accessories, toys, collectibles, or novelty items for your man cave, she shed, or podcast set, you've got to use FOCO for all your team gear needs. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description of this show. For all non-presale items, use promo code PHLY for 10% off. It's promo code PHLY, 10% off of FOCO. Do it. Shop there. I demand it. Support our sponsors, for real.
Yeah, that was good.
We got to wrap up, but I just want you, because you bring up the Provorov thing. I know we think the locker room was some sort of issue last year, but I
don't think it was a major issue. There was one guy everybody didn't like.
They have added, like, just having healthy TK, healthy Coots, healthy Cam, Walker coming in, solidifying the defense, all these things. They've added a ton of talent. They're a better team on paper than they were last year. But, like, it seems like it might have been a little bit more of a toxic situation. Just, like, not necessarily everyone hating each other, but, like, the Hayes-Tortorella relationship weighing on everyone. Because everyone loves Kevin Hayes, and the coach fucking hates him. Yeah. I bet you it's hard for the coach to motivate the whole team when their best friend is being treated like an asshole. Like, Tony DeAngelo, they bought him out. Like, we didn't hear really any issues with Tony, but he's no longer here.
I don't think it was an issue where the players hated him.
The backup goalie didn't punch him in the face.
Yeah, there were issues. There were issues with him and Torts. There were issues with, like, I think Ivan Provorov was the main guy who had accountability issues. I think DeAngelo was there too. I think DeAngelo is a hard-headed guy, and probably the first few times that DeAngelo would say to Torts, "No, you're wrong. I made the right play there," Torts was like, "This is great." He fights back. I love it. But maybe like the 15th time, he's like, "You're delusional. You're playing like crap."
What if I created it?
We've talked about this before, but I don't even think it's just the locker room. The vibes top to bottom with the Flyers are better than they have been in a long time. With Keith Jones and Danny Briere, I don't think you can discount that fact.
Hey, we just watched the Phillies. They
exactly.
live off vibes.
Exactly. I do think there's something to the idea of these guys being happy to go to work. It makes a difference.
Which is a wild thing to say about a team. Like, our preconceived notions of John Tortorella. Like, it's different than we thought. He is an insane person, but crazy in a way that I guess I just wasn't expecting. All right. Yeah. That is all the time we have.
The watch party.
Oh, the watch party. Yes. Make sure you come out to the watch party on Saturday at New Wave Cafe. The event starts at 6 o'clock. It is Flyers Islanders. It is going to be a damn good time. We're going to be doing our post-game show there. I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly certain about it.
The hope
is we can do our post-game show there.
It's in Queen Village, so it's in the city. Not super far from the downtown area. It's a manageable area. It's accessible. Yes. Exactly. I love that.
Come out, have a few beers with me and Charlie. I'm hoping to see Kelly Hinkle there.
50-50.
50-50. Well, all things in life
all things are 50-50.
Are, of course, 50-50.
Just bringing the show full circle.
All right. And
that is pro right here.
That is all the time we have for you on today's show. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. For Kelly and Charlie, I'm Bill. Have a great week, Philly.
Bye.